Hey, Debbie, let's jump right in. What was the biggest issue in the past that that caused you to have to stop and think about it and know that you couldn't ignore it anymore because it was affecting your growth?
Ooh, I would definitely say culture.
Culture, yeah. Well, hey, we're going to dig into that a little bit more and learn how that realization changed the way that Debbie runs her business. Hello, this is Coach Tim Campsall with another episode of Self-Made is a Myth. Today, we're digging into why process gaps is a top priority for Debbie so that growth doesn't keep pulling her into the day to day. If you're stuck between working harder and truly scaling, this episode will feel familiar. Many businesses hit what I call the messy middle. That's the stage where the business works, but still depends way too much on the owner. Debbie is my guest today, and she owns Plan B Cleaning, a residential cleaning company that helps busy people reclaim their time, peace, and mental space so that they can focus on and chase their dreams and careers and kids. Welcome to the show, Debbie.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Well,
Thank
hey,
you for having me.
yes, I'm so excited to hear your story. Let's start at the beginning. Stepping into ownership can, often requires a leap of faith. So, what made you believe that I can do this, even without having it all figured out?
Ooh, I think that it was my husband. I think that I had ideas and dreams and things, and it's the people that supported me and said, "Hey, you have a great thing here."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, give me a little bit more context there. So, how did the people around you support and encourage you and get you over that hump of I'm going to do this?
Yeah, so really I had been working for someone else and I had been a mom for a long time and I think I forgot that hey, I'm a creative person. I have great ideas. And so it really kind of enlivened something in me. And through that, it's like, I started to have all these ideas. And I thought, my husband was like, wait, you have something good here. Don't give that to someone else. Like, why don't you do your own thing? And it was that little seed that he dropped. And it was months later that I ended up doing it. And that was just something that really empowered me to be like, oh, okay, I can do this. Like, yeah.
Love it. That support at home is often what it takes to be able to keep at it. And so now that it's after the fact, what was the biggest difference between what you had expected in terms of ownership and having your own business and what it's actually been like?
I think that when you decide you want to create your own business, you do kind of look at like where you come from. Like I was already working for another cleaning company and you think, "Oh, I could do this better." And you're like, "Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that?" And then you go off and do your own thing and then you realize, "Oh, that's why." And I think that there is definitely that gap, you have this big dream, this big vision, and there's so much in between that you don't understand that that owner is going through, the challenges, and I think you don't know like that you have so many missing gaps and growth as a person. So I really think that the journey of your business and your personal life aren't separated. You're growing and learning as you go. Like with the saying like you're building the plane as you're flying it
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yes, yes. Well, there is a saying that life is a mirror, and I believe that not only do I believe that's true, but being a business owner accelerates that mirror, right? And shows all the reflections back of the areas that we can improve in. Right?
Exactly.
So, Debbie, business can hit different plateaus in the various stages of growth. So, earlier you shared that lack of culture and company purpose was affecting growth. Walk us through that. What was happening, and why was it affecting the growth, and what changes did you make to improve it?
Yeah, so really, when it came to culture, my husband and I, we really wanted to be exceptional employers. We wanted to make a difference in our employees' life. And what that looked like early on was us trying to love them well, but not realizing what boundaries look like. So our culture, like at the time, you don't think it's culture. But back then it was like there was chaos because we were like, didn't have good boundaries. We wanted to save all of our employees. We wanted to make it better, but we were allowing this chaos, which didn't invite any healthy people to want to stay in that. And so I mean, talking about like just learning how, like, what it really means to love them well and to have that structure and those boundaries. And one of the big things that really helped us to overcome with that was realizing that, like, my husband and I, we really want to think the best of people. We want to continue to give them chances, and that's good about us, but we realize that's a weakness. We can't be the bad guy. And so a lot of cleaning companies always are like in our other groups, they're like, it's interesting that you hired the position you did first. Like when it came to our company, we were like, okay, we'll go and do all the other things, but we need somebody for our people. So one of the first positions we hired was like an HR person, a people person, like you're for our teams. And we hired that person that was everything we weren't. They are such a boundary person. They would we would say this is how we're going to do it, and they would draw the line and they would hold the line, and they would have the difficult conversations, and that was all the things we couldn't do. And as we did that, we sat down with her, and I'd be like, we have to get rid of the people that are poisoning the water here little by little. And
Yeah.
so we just kept building that structure, and that was one of the best decisions we really made.
Congratulations on working through that. Culture is I would say, one of the single biggest, most important things because, and thank you for sharing examples and being transparent with us. Is if we have somebody who, I'll use your term, poisoning the water, right? They become a virus and they suck everybody into that drama and into that negativity. And we end up losing good people because we wanted to keep the bad person. It's not that they're bad, they're just not the right fit for our organization.
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have that clarity of our culture, then it's impossible to be able to discern, right? Is this person, just having a bad day, or are they really just not a fit to our company? And so we've done the heavy work, heavy lifting to get that clarity. And I'm so happy to hear that you found an HR person to be able to toe the line and hold everybody accountable. That's great.
Yeah. Yes.
Debbie, thinking back to that messy moment in the business's growth, what was the personal cost to you?
Oh, I would say that you kind of lose focus on why you created it in the first place, the company, because you're down in the mess, in the dirt, in the weeds, and you also like there's a lot of time and energy like getting upset, and but yeah, you're allowing it, and this resentfulness, and like the focus just it just becomes like this big blur. And I really feel like, what you originally think that your company is going to be, like, you're like, wait, what are we doing again? And so I think it just cost me a lot of stress and also pulled me away from my home life. And so my husband and I are both running this company starting a few years in. And so we both are just a lot of energy. And actually one of the reasons why, like, I am so passionate about helping, take that burden of cleaning off of families is because I realize what work does,
Mm,
and you need every little bit of the time you are with your family or those more important things. And it really pulled me away from my family, costing me a lot of like relationship time with my kids. And you're always just telling your kids, okay, in just a minute, and then one day you're like, oh, they're going to college. And you're like, your parents want you to visit, and you're like, well, I've got work. And then the next thing you know, they're sick, and you're thinking, where is all the time gone for those things? And that's really what cost me as we scrambled to make this thing work, all the sacrifices.
yeah, it's being a business owner is definitely not for the faint of heart, right? It's a lot to be able to juggle
Yeah.
everything. Well, I
Mm.
appreciate you then paying that forward and through your business, giving back your clients, giving them their time back, and they don't have to focus on the cleaning, so they can focus on their life and their family instead. It's just an awesome thing to be able to do. So, earlier I had mentioned that process gaps keep pulling you back into the day to day. So, give us some context. What's happening, and how? Why is that pulling you into the day to day?
Yeah. So I think when you first write processes, you're just like, I'm going to write them all and they're going to be in place and everything's going to be great. And then you realize, wait, I'm never done. I'm never done updating those processes
Yeah.
and restructuring my business as it grows. There's always revisions of everything. So, and also I think you do start to make a process for every problem that you ever have and it just gets messy. And so then what I find is, my people are like, there's too many steps and they start dropping steps off because they're like, we don't got time for that. And they think
Yeah.
they're not important. And then you realize all these problems are happening. You're like, as they are important. And like, oh, that's why we do that. And I just find, that it just gets messy. And it's like, okay, they're coming to me for clarity. And it's just the restructuring and constantly improving it. And I think that we've made it too complicated because when we were small, it felt like it made sense. And then as you get bigger, instead of trying to dictate everything for your people, you have to give them, like, here's the basis and here's guidelines, and they have to be empowered to make decisions. And so that's kind of what we're doing right now, like less secret sauce, less like so structured, but empowering our people to be leaders and step up and just simplifying everything.
It is a balance between too much structure and not enough. And um, it's also a very critical step as businesses go from, the initial, hustle and grind of just figuring everything out to being able to let go and have the team take on things. The only way to train people is by having systems and processes in place, right? So that we can hold them accountable and we know that things are going to be run consistently and right and meet the high standards that you have. But yeah, if we over engineer it, then it bogs people down and takes away the ability to make real-time decisions. So it's definitely that balance. So when when the systems aren't or the processes aren't there and working well, what does that cost the business?
Oh, it costs us a lot of time. A lot of time, like, fixing our problems. A lot of stress on our employees, some less job satisfaction. I think those are kind of the things that I see. Frustration, like, hey, I don't know how to succeed, and things like that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And
mhm.
and if you overcorrect from too much process, what's the other side of that? What ends up happening if you go back to just letting the team run it their own way?
Yeah, then we have the whole like nobody's really like speaking and like communicating well and there's just
Yeah.
then there's a whole nother chaos of balls dropped and
Yeah.
frustrations. Yeah.
How do you figure out, and I know you're still going through this, but how do you figure out the right balance between not enough process and documentation and too much?
Ooh. Well, I think that I think that what I'm starting to do is like, well, we're going to say 80%. Like here's like 80% of here are the main things. And then we're going to put guardrails around making decisions outside of that. And so one thing I've really done with my team, especially like here's how to make decisions through like our culture and who we are. And here are our values and why we make these decisions and this is the type of people we are here. And so I think that and then they filter their decisions through that. And there's room for error there. We are very cautious to be like, hey, if you make a mistake that's outside of, we talk about it, we learn from it, we grow, and
Yeah.
that's okay. So,
Yeah. One
yeah.
of the tools that I use and teach our clients is simply asking, like, if something goes wrong, asking, well, is this a system problem? Meaning, right, there is no process in place, and therefore we can fix that by creating a process. Is it a training problem? Right? Meaning, well, we have a process, but the team hasn't been trained on it, so of course they're not able to follow it. Right? Or is it a you problem? Right? There is a process, there is training, and the employee has just chosen not to do it. Right? Having those three questions helps us to understand, well, where do I need to focus if a problem has occurred, right? Is it a system? Is it a training? Or is it the individual person? And it can save a lot of time in trying to sort through what's actually going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Now, you mentioned about the systems that it kind of never ends. It's for folks listening, if if you're in that boat, it's true because as the system keeps growing and evolving, or as the business keeps growing and evolving, the systems and processes that were okay, in the last stage of the business's growth may no longer be useful or acceptable or okay now. And so, yeah, you have to be adaptable and flexible in terms of continuing to raise the standards and raise the bar, because as the business grows, there you do have to have those systems to be able to so everybody knows what's expected of them and how to be, how to be awesome in their role. So Debbie, you're not alone. You're just going through the right the messy middle of
Yeah.
business growth. So congrats on evolving.
Yay me.
So what's a lesson um, that you wish that you had learned sooner in your journey, that would have made the biggest impact on how you led the business?
Mm, I think realizing sooner that getting over that belief that, okay, I'm the only one that can do this. I think I waited way too long because you really, you have such an emotional attachment to what you're building that you like don't really think that somebody can do it as good as you.
Yeah,
And then once you give it to somebody, you still, there's that other stage of, well, that person knows everything. So you haven't built anything. And so, like, when that person leaves, it's the end of the world. And then you're like, and so, like, I
yeah,
think
yeah,
those things in the very beginning, like, if I meet somebody that's brand new and that's like, I'm like, they're a bottleneck, like, I just remember being like, I was never going to be okay at that point. And then now I looked back and I'm like, it's never about like, it is about the process or about that you've written, and it's not about the person.
yeah,
And it is just about having it documented. And the thing is, it is about how I teach somebody to do the job and not about me. And the thing is, there are people I found that are better than me. And that's a relief. So I think that that's really one of my big things. Like, don't be the bottleneck and believe that you're the only person that can do that. That's a lie. So,
yes. Thank you for sharing.
yeah.
That's probably the number one thing that I see with growing businesses is right because you've created your baby, right, and you want
Mhm.
to be protective of it, and it's hard to let go, but also right if you don't, then you stay stuck because now the business can't grow beyond your capacity, and that just leads to burnout. Yeah, I like what you said about creating the processes to be able to teach the person to be able to do it as well as you, right? And then guide and direct them and hold them accountable to following the process. It sounds simple because it is. Now, it doesn't mean that it happens overnight. It's the other thing that I often hear as well. I did hire somebody and they couldn't do it as well as me. And I'm like, well, let me see your training, right? And the
Mhm.
documentation. Like, well, I shadowed them for 2 hours. So you've been doing this for 20 years and then you shadow them for 2 hours and you think that they should
Mhm.
be able to do it as well as you?
Yeah. I think that is the other thing too. It's like when you hire that first person, it's like a learning curve. It's I mean, I know now when I hire for a new position that's probably not necessarily going to be the first time I hire for that like within a certain amount of time because I know I'm learning. And
Yeah.
I also know I maybe haven't chosen for the personality right and
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
things that you're just learning. And I think that you just get better and better with each
Yeah.
salesperson you hire, with
Yes.
each, because you don't know what you don't know until you're in it. Yeah.
Oftentimes, the first hire is oh my goodness, finally I have some help. So then I'm just going to dump everything
Hmm.
on them and and I'm not going to hold them accountable or train them because I'm just so relieved that I have a body that I'll
Yes.
take anybody versus the right body. And yeah,
The desperation, and yeah, and you're like crossing your fingers,
yeah.
holding your breath. Yes.
And the extreme of that is, and then the person doesn't work out, and then we say to ourselves, "See, no one can
Mm,
do it as well as me."
yeah. Exactly. Yep. I feel that whole journey.
But what I
Mm,
like about what you said is you didn't you didn't let that stop you from learning and growing and developing and finding the right people and being able to build a team. So great job. What a what allowed you to, or what motivated you to keep pushing through the learning curve?
You know, I don't know. I'm not one to give up.
Mm.
I really felt like called to be this leader, to build this company and to have impact. And so I think that really pushed me forward because I think that, like, at some points in my business, what I lacked was like my purpose and my why. And I do think that, that's what really kept me going. Like, hey, like, there's a reason you're doing this and it's for a bigger impact and it's not just about your comfort. And, you didn't sacrifice all of this, for the first 5 years to give up now. And, it's just one of those kind of things. Like, you're like, just keep going.
So, we know self-made is a myth, the whole purpose of the show. So, who are the 3 people, Debbie, that you wouldn't be here, without them being part of your business journey, and how'd they help you along the way?
So, my husband, for sure. He is definitely someone that has believed in me, supported me. He challenges me to think outside the box and to be bold. And he's a big dreamer. Like, he's pie in the sky guy.
Huh?
And I'm a good implementer, but sometimes I'm more fearful, and he like really pushes me. And so I love that about him. I have to tether him down a little bit, but we would never dream as big. And sometimes we never overcome things if it wasn't for his pie in the sky outlook.
What's his name?
um, his name's Ben. Yeah. Yeah. And the second person is a woman named Roxy. And interestingly enough, this is one, when I started my business, it was that I left another company. And when I left, that woman actually said to me, "Wow, I can't really like handle all these clients without you. If you're going to go start your own company, why don't you just take a few that you can't live without?" And so that's something definitely that helped me in my journey too. But I really only asked for a couple clients that I had loved the relationship with. And then there was this one client that she's like, "Why don't you just take this client?" And it was one that I didn't ask for. And it ended up being this woman, Roxy, that would go on to be like, I worked for her for 9 years, even after I was just leaving the company. And I this woman just really inspired me. She became someone that really influenced me to step up as a leader. And she's just like a beautiful soul that really, I think that I dream about the future differently and how I can impact people with my time and my success through this woman's eyes. And I just, she became like a mentor to me. And then my third person, is cliche as this sounds, is really God, because I absolutely believe I would have ruined this thing with my own 2 hands. No joke at all, like, all the time, I'm like, "I should have failed at this," and he sent me the people I needed at the right times and gave us the strength to keep going, and has just really I just really feel a calling that he has asked me to step up as this leader, and that what I can do with the success of my company can impact my community and, like, and fund other great things. And so I have to say that really it feels like a God driven thing in my own life. So
Love that. And I know offline we talked about the roller coaster and how, right, your faith and knowing that this was your calling, kept you in the fight and got you through some of the ups and downs. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So in your journey, um, when you felt stuck or overwhelmed, what belief about figuring it out on your own held you back? And what changed once you brought outside perspective into that?
ooh, I think there's a couple things that hold you back. I think you're very emotional when you're in problems. So in that emotion, and so much working that you're at, at full capacity, you really, without the outside perspective, can't really see, like, you can't read the label from inside the jar. You're emotional, you need somebody from the outside's perspective that isn't emotionally involved to say, like, "Hey, I see what you're not seeing because you're just too in this." Also, like, you see all of your problems.
Mm,
And so, like, Tim, you
yeah,
come in and you basically say, hey, like, because we don't know where to start. We're just seeing all of the problems. And I
sure,
think an outside
sure.
perspective says, okay, let's make this digestible. Like, let's do this bite size. Where do you start? Because sometimes it's like a tangled, like, yarn of mess. And you're just like, I don't even know where to start. Like, what comes before the other? It just feels so messy. And so you kind of need somebody to pull you out of that and give you that perspective, ground you basically.
Love the jar label analogy. I've never heard that before. I'm gonna borrow that if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, take it. Good.
So, can you think of an example that you'd be willing to share that illustrates that inside the jar thinking?
mm. So I think that like at this stage in the business, one thing I would say is you make so many decisions based on your how I feel about things and your emotions and everything. And I think one of the biggest ahas, especially in this last year, was when somebody was like, you need to be tracking your numbers. Like, is this
Oh,
real? Is this based in reality? Or is this just like, because I find myself doing this and, it's like you read something in like our channel and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is always happening." And like you've magnified it and then like, "Okay, I've seen it 2 times like in 2 months," and I'm like acting like is this and so you become like fixated on thinking something's bigger than it is and out of your fears, and so KPIs have really grounded us. And that wasn't something that, you're like, okay, yeah, yeah, track your numbers, make decisions from your numbers. But the bigger we get, it's like, no, that was like a big aha for us. And also, when we realized that we did kind of come to a plateau, it helped us to make decisions about where we were going to go in the next phase. And I don't think that we would have done that without outside perspective and people being like, hey, this is more important than you think. So,
yes. Numbers tracking so important. Right? Um, the show the prophet Marcus would say, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. Right? It's such an important tool. I like what you were saying earlier about when you're in the emotion of it. Right? The numbers don't lie. Right? They're not emotional. It's
yeah.
very black and white.
Fact is a fact.
So,
Yeah.
and so what's a change that you've made as a result of the tracking and knowing the data as opposed to just feeling the assumption or feeling the emotion?
So I think that I had this huge aha and didn't realize my client loss. Um I didn't realize that I had just churned clients all last year, and that was a big aha moment for me. Like, why aren't we growing? Well, look at this churn. And so you're working so hard to bring all these people in, and then we're just churning it and churning it. And we did and so that was that was scary and sad all at the same time and
Yeah,
disappointing, I'm not and I'm like, I'm not who I say I am. This is annoying.
yeah, yeah,
And so
yeah.
I and so I went on this whole thing and I really started to examine like why people were canceling and because we documented that. And just this realization that it wasn't even about our quality, which is all I ever focused on was my training, like how to be an amazing cleaner. And my aha moment was the realization that that's only like this small percentage, only half of what our clients ever care about is the quality of the cleaning. They care about all the professionalism, like how we enter the home, our presence there, like how, you know what I mean? It's like all the way we communicate and it's everything in our presence that's not the cleaning. You know what I mean? And I was just like, oh no, and I've done like all of this work on just be an amazing cleaner and realized that I was just totally missing that. And I would have never known it without my numbers. It made me go in this deep dive. And then I realized, I talked about how culture was a problem. And I realized that this is a culture problem because I am only saying just be a good cleaner. I'm not saying be a professional, be
Yeah,
a cleaning professional. I'm
yes,
just saying be a
yes,
cleaner. And
yeah.
so we've gone on this whole new culture layer this year to just kind of be like, you know what? like we're gonna have professional like presence in their homes and just challenge them on that level and kind of build that into our culture as well. Like it takes both. And so yeah, so that's kind of like my big aha from my numbers.
Not only were the numbers a punch in the gut, but it was a tremendous gift.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would have never looked at things like the same if I didn't start following my numbers. Like, yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you for, I mean, thank you for being so transparent. That's a real, recent raw event. And I appreciate your willingness to share that with us. It's going to help a ton of people. So thank you.
Oh, of course.
Debbie, it sounds like you've benefited from a lot of people who have blessed you along the way. If they were all here today with us, what would you want to say to them?
Oof. Probably thank you for believing in me. I think that like so many times like you just need someone to say like you can do this. I can see I see you. Like you got this. One of my mission in life, my two-word purpose is to affirm significance. And I think that greatly comes from the fact that like I needed that. And every step of the path when I needed that there was somebody to affirm that I could make a difference and there I can make a significant like impact and so I really believe that's probably it.
Thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your story today.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
If you're listening and realize that you're stuck in the messy middle, there is a way through it and you don't have to figure it out on your own. We offer a 2-week coaching trial to get clear on what needs to change and more importantly, how. And the link is in the description. And if you want to learn from others who are navigating through this stage, like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss our next